Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's your boy Pup. We're here connecting to Mika for week 1 of the Ultra Sun and Moon Doubles OU Draft League. I do have my Mega Scizor already fully Mega Evolved, and as you might be able to tell, this is going to be post-commentary because I forgot to record. Well, I did record, obviously, as you can see here, but I forgot to put my mic on there. Like, I put the new layout and everything. It looks so beautiful, but I forgot to put any game sound. I forgot to put my sound on there, and just a bad time for me. But we're doing this. Obviously, as you can see, it's a little bit choppy for now, just because I'm running my calcs, looking at my stuff a little bit. But we do have the Mega Scizor on here, just a Swords Dance variant with superpower to hit Ferrothorn. We have a trapping, Gothitelle with Heal Pulse to be able to support Calm Mind Tapu Fini that also has Heal Pulse, so they can support each other. We have Tailwind Zapdos with Heal Pulse as well, with Discharge too. We have Choice Specs Greninja, which is our lead that knocks out Mega Metagross with Choice Specs Dark Pulse with Protean. Then we also have a stockpiled Quagsire in this game that's going to be really solid. My opponent's team is really nasty with Mega Metagross. They have the Togekiss as well, which I think is really solid with the Follow Me. They have Scrafty, which is annoying, Ferrothorn, Noivern, and Rotom Wash. Sorry that's a little choppy. It'll get better as we get into the battle a little bit more, as my computer warms up into Citra just a little bit, because it's been a while since we played. But we are in, it's called the UPA now. It's basically the same thing as the YPA before. This is our off-season, basically little draft league. I think it's like 7 weeks of doubles OU. And I should have had a draft analysis go up a week ago, going over my whole team. I decided not to bring Massive Trick Room this week. I actually brought the Tailwind, but we don't really need it in this game because they have a very bulky team. But as you can see, I'm just clicking Ice Beam against the Togekiss. I feel like it's very, very free versus them. And then I'm debating clicking Thunder Wave onto the Ferrothorn, but I really don't want to, get my item knocked off or get leech seeded. And they probably don't expect me to switch out anyways, so they're not going to switch. I do feel like it's very fair if they want to just Power Whip my Greninja and get rid of it. Power Whip and then, do something like that, or Thunder Wave my Greninja, do anything like that. It's totally fine. This Greninja was just meant to be a lead into them, and if I can have it survive until the late game, then it's totally fine as well. But seeing as though they led the Ferrothorn, I feel like it's going to set up hazards because there are no boots in this generation, and we do have the Zapdos in the back that really does not love the Stealth Rocks. My whole team really doesn't like that, but we do have leftovers. So we're chilling on, most of our team anyways. So it's not the biggest of deals for us. But yeah, they're taking a long time with their turn 1. Really, it seems like they don't exactly know what they're going to do, as we're just going to swap out this Gothitelle. Like I said, we're going to bring in the Zapdos, potentially force them out with Heat Wave. And they are going to show to be Scarf Togekiss clicking Dazzling Gleam versus us, which is totally fine. It's going to do a ton of damage to Greninja, but we are going to survive. Get off a Specs Ice Beam with Protean that's going to super knock out any variant of Togekiss that is possible. So it's obviously great to have that threat go down super early in the match, and we do see Stealth Rocks. So really nice for me to bring in the Zapdos early on this play. I'm pretty happy about that one. And now, they basically get to bring in their Mega Metagross if they want. I'm not really fearing that Heat Wave. They also have options with what they want to bring in, as they're going to go out to the Noivern, which does naturally outspeed my Greninja by 1 point. I think it's, base 123 versus my base 122 Greninja, or something like that. So, we can obviously click Heat Wave here if they want to U-turn out, potentially go out to that Metagross. We can get a lot of damage off. Should do about 50% to Metagross, maybe a little bit more. And I can't really, click anything else. If I'm specs into Ice Beam, so I could, click that, but they're obviously going to outrun me. And at this point, I'm calcing 63 damage is about 20%, so I can live Stealth Rocks if I want. So I'm just going to make the Tapu Fini play. We're going to get a lot of our health back from the U-turn with leftovers anyways, if that's what they choose to go for. And if they want to try to knock me out with Draco, then that's totally fine as well, because we're going to get a hard Heat Wave off on both of these Pokemon, and then put ourselves in a pretty good position where they don't switch in too well to the combination of Heat Wave plus Dazzling Gleam on their team. So I'm feeling pretty solid at this moment in time, but You know, obviously it's really scary when there's a Mega Metagross in the back. Also, the Intimidate Scrafty is something that we really don't switch into too well. The knockoffs are just really annoying versus me. So we do get that Misty Surge up. So if they wanted to, you know, maybe mid-ground click Thunder Wave or Toxic with Ferrothorn, we'd be fine. But they do choose to just U-turn, so I made a really good play here. And they have options with what they want to go out to. It's obviously not going to be the Scrafty in the face of a Fairy type. I don't think that would make very much sense at all. But I feel like the Metagross, it does make a lot of sense if they're not even thinking about Heat Wave. So we do click it, and they dodge, which is unfortunate for sure. But it's not the end of the world. You still get over 50% off on the Ferrothorn, which is really nice, as they're going to knock off the Iapapa Berry. It actually does a huge chunk of damage, a lot more than I was expecting. But, you know, we're still in a pretty solid spot here. Obviously, they can knock me out with like an Ice Punch into the Zapdos. I feel like that would be pretty annoying. But we can, you know, basically click Heat Wave versus them. We can click Surf as well if we wanted. We can also switch. We can Calm Mind. We have a ton of options with the Finny. And honestly, what do I even make here? I'd really like to be able to knock out that Ferrothorn because it's really annoying for my team. We don't take care of it too well. Besides this Pokemon, we had HP Fire on the Greninja, but that Pokemon's basically super crippled. It has a 1 switch in and it's spexed, so we can't really do too much. So I'm thinking about clicking Surf here. It would be a little bit annoying if they went out to Rotom here. But I found a better play, which is going to just be to go out into Quagsire. I feel like they might want to do a lot of damage into my Tapu Fini because it's really good into their team. Really is the only thing that's keeping Scrafty from being super good. So we're going to make the switch out to Quagsire. Obviously take some stones as they swap out that Ferrothorn into the Rotom Wash. So, you know, saving that from dying to a Heat Wave here, I think it's a pretty solid play from them. And they do Mega. We get to see either Meteor Mash or an Ice Punch. As they do Meteor Mash into Quagsire, we dodge. Very, you know, it's what it is, you know. That wasn't going to do very much anyways. They dodged a Heat Wave that was going to do a lot more. So, I mean, I feel like that's pretty fair no matter what. As Quagsire gets back up to full. And basically, we can, you know, click Stomping Tantrum if we want. We also can just freely stockpile. Because if this Rotom is not Trick, then that'll just put us in a great spot. They don't have any good moves to hit me with unless they are like Hidden Power, Grass, or anything like that. So I'm feeling like I'm in a pretty good spot. I can also just click Discharge or Heat Wave here. Heat Wave would probably knock out the Mega Metagross, potentially. It's probably a little bit of a dirty roll since the Heat Wave did about 50% last time. And I also don't want to miss, so I feel like Discharge is just a better play. We can't get a Para on that or anything because we do have the Misty Surge up, which is a little bit annoying, but it is nice for us just to make sure that the Quagsire can't get toxic by that Rotom, because I'm not sure what their spread or their set might be. And now basically the game plan, if I'm able to get this stockpile up, is basically I can bring in Tapu Fini and I can just click Heal Pulse and keep this Pokemon alive forever. I also have the Surf with the Water Absorb. But they decide to switch out to the Scrafty, get an Intimidate off on my Quagsire, which is fine. It's a little bit annoying, as we do just choose to attack this turn. We're going to Discharge. It's going to do a little bit to the Scrafty. I honestly figured that it was Assault Vest at this point because it did no sorts of damage. And then we Stomping Tantrum, also does no sorts of damage, so definitely a bulky variant of Scrafty. So a little bit annoying. We probably should have just clicked Stockpile that turn, but I understand why we would be a little hesitant with potential Hidden Power Grass sitting in the background or like Trick on the Choice Scarf. But in this scenario, I feel like they really have no good answers to the stockpiling Pokemon. We're just going to get +1 defense, +1 special defense, and they have nothing they can do about it. And at this point, I mean, what is Zapdos really doing too much of in this game? It has a great speed tier, especially if we click Tailwind, it's able to outrun most of their team. But it also just does a good chunk of damage with this Discharge to their team. So we're going to get a lot of damage off on the Scrafty and the Rotom. They're going to T-Bolt my Zapdos down to 5 HP. We do just live, but Scrafty is going to take me out. Totally fine. I didn't mind that Mon going down anyways. The real threat on the field is going to be the Quagsire. As derpy as he looks, he is incredibly strong in this game. Well, strong is one way to put it. I wouldn't say he's that strong, he's just really powerful. But at this point, I'm thinking this might be my only opportunity to bring in Scizor, because I didn't ever want to hard swap it, because I did kind of have the illegal set with it already being pre-Mega Evolved, which only really matters with the speed of the Pokemon. Actually, I think in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, it doesn't even matter. But it definitely matters with, the stats. I think it has a lot boosted Spadef and probably, defense and stuff. So I never want to hard swap that Pokemon in, kind of a restriction I'm giving to myself. So I'm going to bring in Greninja here with the sole purpose of getting rid of that Rotom Wash. It's really the one thing on their team that's really threatening my Tapu Fini at this point. Everything else is pretty chipped down or doesn't do too much to Tapu Fini. Obviously, Power Whip Ferrothorn can do a good chunk, but I have ways around that. I mean, they can't really do too much. Even to Quagsire, it's going to be 4 times super effective, but with a stockpile boosts and unaware, like, we're totally fine versus them. But yeah, I mean, we're just going to click Dark Pulse, take that Mon out. It would be a little bit annoying if they swap out and then knock out my Greninja with their Scrafty. It would definitely suck here, but I'm hoping that they just, potentially let me take that Rotom down, so it would be great. If they swap out to Mega Metagross as well, that would be totally fine by me. That would actually make me pretty happy, because getting that threat out of the way is really nice. And at this point, the threats are really the Scrafty that's sitting here on the field that's already down to 50%, so basically can just die to like a Dazzling Gleam from our Tapu Fini. So good spot there. But then the Mega Metagross that I don't think we can really one-shot it with anything outside of Greninja. We don't have too many offensive Pokemon left. I mean, everything's very defensive with our Gothitelle. I don't even know if we have an attacking move on that. I know we're like Thunder Wave, Toxic, Helping Hand, a bunch of random sort of moves, it seems. A lot of support. We have support on our Tapu Fini. We are, a Quagsire that can't really do too much damage to much. But, we are still getting it out. We obviously have the Scizor that's nice. But they end up timing out on this turn, and they get the random taunt into our Greninja. So taunt into Quagsire would have been really solid for them to be able to stop me from getting to +2. But at this point, I mean, the game is really, really hard for them to come back from. They obviously can go out to Noivern here, which is going to outrun my Greninja, be able to just click U-turn or Draco or whatever, and freely be able to get a KO here. And at this point, it might not be worth, saving that Greninja, because it's going to die to rocks. We don't have any Defogger or anything. But I can threaten this Noivern. If they want to stand and try to click Draco Meteor, I can Ice Beam them, which should probably one-shot them from Quagsire. Not super strong, but I probably am strong enough on a 4 times super effective move into just a Noivern to knock it out. But here, I'm going to make the aggressive switch. Just save a sack in the back and go out to Tapu Fini. I think it's a really solid side-by-side with Quagsire, being able to just click Surf to heal up Quag. But it obviously switches in if they want to click Draco Meteor. If they want to click U-turn, it's not going to do anything as well. We're going to get leftovers back. And also make sure that they can't click Toxic if they have it into my Quagsire, so that Quagsire is always going to live forever. So we do swap into it. We're going to get some stones, and expertly predicted that U-turn. Obviously, it's more of like a mid-ground, because we did kind of hard commit with the Quagsire. A better play here would probably have just been to click Stomping Tantrum into either like Ferrothorn or the Mega Metagross that's going to want to come out here. As, they should probably bring in the Mega Metagross. It's the only thing that really threatens my Tapu Fini at this point. And that's exactly what they do. They're also going to click Knockoff into Quag, get rid of the leftovers, but that's okay, because we have easy healing with our Surf or Heal Pulse from Tapu Fini. Just a really, really good Pokemon. I think this was my first round pick, and you can see in this game why. But in this scenario, we have Stomping Tantrum, which we can click into that Mega Metagross. That's really solid. Dazzling Gleam should be able to knock out a Scrafty from this variant. Even if they're, AV'd at this point, they're at 50%, but they're obviously not AV'd when they click Protect, which is not what I expected. We do dodge a Meteor Mash, which is very annoying. They needed 2 Meteor Mashes and an attack raise on that first Meteor Mash to be able to knock me out in 2 hits. But at that point, they would already be dying to QUAGSIRE anyways. So how much did it really matter? Probably some, definitely for differential. But at this point, like, they have a really tough time taking out QUAGSIRE. In this game, it's just going to go long because, you know, they can't really knock out my bulky team too well. I am really happy with how I built this, you know, the whole team. Even in the Pokemon that I didn't bring, Diancie, Hariyama, those sort of Pokemon, everything is really dang bulky on this team. I function really well under Trick Room. I do have the Tailwind support if I want to run that with like Zapdos, plus Mega Scizor. Even Tapu Fini can run that sort of offensive set. Obviously the Greninja, which would have been nice in this game to have that Tailwind up to make sure that the Noivern couldn't come out. But they do try to get a double protect as they're going to hit this Meteor Mash. It's going to do a little bit more than I expected with about 130, but it still wouldn't have been 2-hit KOing if not for that boost. So we're going to just barely miss out on the KO on the Scrafty and on the Mega Metagross, but we do have Stomping Tantrum, so that's going to be able to do it. Even if they wanted to swap out in that scenario, I mean, we would have been fine. They have no real great source of damage into Tapu Fini besides potentially Power Whip on the Ferrothorn in the back. But if they bring in a Ferrothorn, I mean, they're basically sacrificing their Scrafty no matter what, which is one of the Pokemon that I'm most threatened by in this game overall anyways. But we don't have a great way to hit that Pokemon, obviously. We have Ice Beam from QUAGSIRE, so obviously could get some flinches sort of thing. But at this point, I knock them out with a Surf. So I'm going to go for it. They make a great play and swap out to the Noivern on the Telegraphed Surf here, since I obviously want to heal up my QUAGSIRE. And, you know, Dazzling Gleam would knock them out, but it wouldn't do the support that I wanted it to do. So yeah, great switch by them. We're going to do just about no damage to either of those Pokemon. And we're going to hit the Ice Beam into the Ferrothorn. Also not going to do very much, but it's going to bring it under a quarter, which is Iapapa Berry range. So they're going to get a ton of health back. Without that, we would have been in a great position here. We would have been awesome. But they're going to, you know, hit that Power Whip. We do live with Fini because we are very bulky on this Pokemon. We get a little bit of leftovers recovery back, which means we don't die till like a U-turn from that Noivern. And we're just going to, you know, attack it with the Ice Beam. We're also going to Dazzling Gleam, I think makes a lot of sense into them. Obviously, we can die to Power Whip. But that's not the end of the world, as they choose to go for Flamethrower, which is resisted. I don't know why they would go for that. We're going to live on 7. Obviously, the HP matters from that miss earlier, but that's great for us. We're going to hit it with the Dazzling Gleam, and the combination of that plus Ice Beam is going to be able to take out Noivern and bring them down to just their last 2 Pokemon in Scrafty and Ferrothorn. And at this point, I mean, it's basically been Jover for most of the game, as they do a lot to QUAGSIRE with that Power Whip. But we're very much sitting pretty here. Mist is going to disappear, so they can choose to status us if they have it. They have like Toxic Ferrothorn. I don't think at this point it's going to save them. Although I don't really deal too well with the Ferrothorn, and they have a ton of HP at this point. And they're going to get the Intimidate, so we can't, you know, click Stomping Tantrum too well. But I have a choice here. Basically, I really want to go for game at this point. I really want to win with QUAGSIRE. It's really good. Obviously, it will die in this range to a click from the Power Whip. But I'm going to click Heal Pulse into it, as I assume the Scrafty is going to click Protect on this turn, as they just go for a Fake Out into QUAGSIRE though. It's the wrong slot. I'm just going to get this Heal Pulse off, which is great. Obviously, QUAGSIRE is going to flinch, but an awesome turn for us because we get that thing basically up to max HP. And we're going to live the knockoff, which is super funny. We're living on 3 HP. And we can just click Dazzling Gleam at this point, which would knock out the Scrafty. And then we can Ice Beam into Ferrothorn. Just keep chipping that thing down. Potentially get it to, get frozen. And then we easily win. I'm also thinking about, sacking. Or not sacking. Switching out Preserve the differential. But at this point, I'm still just a little bit scared of Scrafty, so I have to stay in just to make sure that I'm going to be able to take it out. As they do protect this turn, that's okay with me, as we're going to Dazzling Gleam just get a tiny bit of chip off on this Ferrothorn. Really not going to matter that much. None of that Dazzling Gleam chip is doing anything. Even the Ice Beam chip isn't really doing too much, maybe like 15%. But they're going to knock me out with a Gyro Ball here, which is what they should have gone for in the last turn. The knockoff was a pretty big misplay, but it could have caught me if I wanted to go into something like Gothitelle. But at this point, I have the option to go out to Gothitelle, but I'm not really, doing anything. I don't want to risk Drain Punch Scrafty getting some health back and just being annoying versus me, and then me losing the Power Whip. So I'm just going to go out to the Scizor. I'm already Mega Evolved, yes, but it doesn't matter in this game, because no matter what, we're just going to be able to take them out with a Bullet Punch on the Scrafty. Even if I had never Mega Evolved in this game, it would be fine, but we would Mega at the beginning of this turn. So, it's not like we have different HP numbers, because Megas don't have different HP, so the Stealth Rocks or anything doesn't really matter. But they just give it to us. They're going to let us click Bullet Punch. It's going to knock out the Scrafty. They would have needed a double protect there anyways. Honestly, if they wanted to have any sort of chance in this game, they probably needed like a quadruple protect, which is just not happening. But they're going to Power Whip the Quagsire. It's going to do a lot, but we're still going to live comfortably. And at this point, they just have the Ferrothorn that is, 40-ish%. And then we should easily be able to take that out with a superpower. And if we don't, then the Ice Beam from Quagsire is easily going to take it out. So great game to our opponent, Mika. Really unfortunate about the Meteor Mash misses. Also, the Hydro Pump from Rotom obviously is annoying. But, if I hit the Heat Wave earlier on in the game would have, the Mega Metagross wouldn't have even had the opportunities to click it. But we take a nice 4-0 dub. If you guys did enjoy, though, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for all the Draft League content. And there's a ton more coming to the channel in the near future. That's going to be about it for me. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.